Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Richard from Seneca, and thank you very much for joining me today for the webinar on how to use Seneca alongside Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom. I hope you can all hear me okay. If you can't hear me, please do just let me know in the chat so I can keep an eye on things and make sure that everyone can hear me loud and clear. What I'm going to talk about in this session is I'm going to look at giving you a bit of a background of what Seneca is and how it's sort of come to be. And then we're going to focus the rest of the session basically purely on like a practical level, how to use Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom and some of the functionality within both those platforms, and combining that with Seneca and how that can be a really powerful tool to help you with your students and their learning. So I'm going to cover all aspects of that. And it should take us about 45 minutes to get through that. And of course, there'll be an opportunity at the end to ask some questions. So if you do have questions, what I suggest is you'll find you won't be able to unmute yourself on this Zoom call, but what you will be able to do is obviously use the chat. So if you hover over my face and you'll see a little chat section at the bottom, and if you click on that, then you'll be able to ask any questions that you have as and when they come up. So please do that. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is share my screen with you in a second and we'll get going. Okay, give me a moment. Okay, so hopefully you can all see that screen now, which is great. So as I say, first of all, I'm just going to talk through a bit of background behind Seneca and what it actually is and what it is that how we've come to develop the platform we have today. So first thing to say is what actually Seneca is. So schools, parents and students use this in a whole host of different ways, but to boil it down to a couple of things is mainly that we are a homework and a distance learning platform. Some students also use us for a lot of revision or independent learning at home. Parents have used it, parents and schools and teachers have used this a lot over lockdown. Of course, the sort of use of Seneca has changed a lot over that period. But before that, we had lots of people using us for just a homework platform within school, and then a revision platform for home learning come for exam time, basically. And some of the best things that are, I think, worth noting about Seneca and how and what we do is that everything, the way the system's been developed is based on cognitive science. So that means the most effective research in terms of understanding how people learn has been automatically implemented into Seneca, so that you as a teacher don't need to worry about whether your students are or aren't applying the most effective learning strategies. I'm sure you'll hear your students a lot saying things like, I don't really know how to revise, don't know how to learn at home on my own. Well, the nice thing is Seneca sort of takes that away for them and actually makes sure that they are using it, because you can't use Seneca without using strategies from cognitive science. Secondly, everything on there from your perspective is automated for marking purposes. So you won't have to do any manual marking, which is always nice, I know. And everything on there as well, you can also track the progress and things like that, see all the data that your students are up to, so you can understand what it is that they are doing. Also, Seneca is adaptive. And what we mean by that is it's basically differentiated, is the word you would use in the classroom. So as a student goes through a learning session on Seneca, the system automatically learns what the student does and doesn't know and adapts that accordingly. So there will be situations where if a student's not doing very well or struggling with a particular area, then it will give them more support and more questions around that, sort of easier concepts. But we'll also push students on further if they seem to be doing really well. So that sort of happens all automatically. You don't need to worry about whether your students are sort of hitting content at the right level. It will automatically pitch it right for the student. And lastly, it's free to use. So everything I'm going to show you in this webinar is completely free to use. There's no reason to sign up for premium for any of the stuff I'm going to show you today. Now, we, as I say, based everything we did on cognitive science. We worked with sort of leading experts in the field to make sure that what we were doing was effective. Now, we obviously wanted to make sure that the way we implemented the theory was effective. So we did a randomized control trial with just over 1,100 pupils. And what we did is we compared Seneca to revision guides as another sort of independent learning strategy. And what you can see is with very similar pre-test results, you can see that with Seneca, students did over twice as well. So we see that as sort of an effective validation of what we do and how we do it, and that it actually has a really positive impact on student outcomes. Now, that research was peer reviewed and published. So if you'd like to read about it, you can go to any of these places and you'll be able to find the article if you just do a Google search. Now, in terms of what we have now on Seneca, we have content that goes from year 3 right up to the end of A level. And everything on there is really tailored to the curriculum. So at Key Stage 2 and 3, we offer the courses we offer are really closely linked to what's in the national curriculum. And at Key Stage 4 and 5, we obviously then look at the exam boards and making sure that each course is exam board specific, so that your students are learning exactly the content they need to know and not anything else. And what we've got currently are those exam boards that are listed just there for most courses. And then we have about 3.75 million students using the platform and about 190,000 teachers. So we're really pleased, as I say, to be able to support lots of people over lockdown. And yeah, lots of people using it for that purpose, but also there were lots of people using it before that as well. So that's sort of a bit of background for you. As I say, I'm going to talk a bit about how to then use Seneca in combination with Teams and Google Classroom. So I'm going to go on to do that now. When you first log in to a Seneca account, this is what you'll be greeted with. So you'll have your classes at the top here, and then you'll also get an opportunity to create classes. So I'll just talk you through the class creation process first of all. So if you just click this big button to create class, you can then put a class name in there. So I can choose something like, I don't know, just give it a name, whatever it is. And then when you're ready, you can create that class. And then when you first created a class, you have basically 4 steps that you need to complete. So the first one is actually creating the class. So you've already done that. The second one is to add some courses to the class so that your students can then study the courses that are appropriate for them. Now, if you need any help with any of these stages at any point, there's always this Get Help button, which will just give you some support. But if not, you just click, if you want to go straight ahead, you just click Get Add Courses here. And what you can do is you can search at the top here, you can down the side here, you can use the filters to find courses, or you can just scroll down and find the courses, whatever's right for you. But what you can do is just select as many or a few of these as you wish, whatever it is. So I've selected 6 courses there, and I'm going to add those 6 courses. So I'm saying to the students, these are the 6 courses I want you to access for this class. Say, for example, you are, in this example, a biology teacher. I selected some biology courses. Those are the ones I want you to do. These are the right exam boards, etc. The next step is to create an assignment to mark that work automatically. Again, you can get help if you need it, but let's just go straight in and create the assignment. So you'll see these 6 courses that I added earlier. I can select whichever one it is I want to create an assignment for. Give it a moment. I then can select the different sections of the course that I want to set for my students, whatever it is. And if anyone's familiar with the OCR A-level spec, this is basically exactly the way the course is structured is exactly from the spec. So it should be easy to navigate for you when you're looking for certain things. And when you've selected the ones you want to set for your students, you first of all see there's this little time suggestion up here of 24 to 40 minutes. So that's quite useful when you're thinking about how much time to set for you, how much work to set for your students. And when you're ready, you just click Assign, give it a name, and a start and an end date. So again, the start and end date is really useful because if you want to plan into the future, for example, You can say do all of your half terms homeworks or work in one go, and actually there's no need to come back to that. It will just automatically set them, and after the start date, it will appear for the student. But when you're ready, you click create, and away you go. Now, the final step, and this is where the first sort of integration with Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams comes in, is to add some students to the class. So we've added courses, we've created our first assignment, but actually we haven't actually done anything to interact with any students yet. So we have to do that now. So if you click invite students, what you'll see is there's a few options, but we'll focus on the Google Classroom and the Microsoft Teams option for the scope of this session. So if I want to share a class link to invite the students, what I can do is just click on the Google Classroom link. I'll show you on Google Classroom first, and then I'll show you what it looks like on Teams. So it'll then take you through to your Google Classroom account. And the first thing you need to do is choose a class you want to share it to. So I'm going to choose this Year 10 group. And then you can choose an action. Now, there are 4 different actions you can do on Google Classroom. The first 3, create an assignment, ask a question, and make an announcement. Pretty self-explanatory. Probably the only one that might need some explanation is to create material. Now, when you create material on Google Classroom, you're not actually creating a material, you're basically just linking to something. So it might be, or uploading something, sorry, uploading a document or something. So it might be that, say, in science, you want to upload a formula sheet, or in English, you want to upload a PDF of the text, or maybe in history, a source, you want to upload a source or something like that. You can use the create material function for that. But what I'm going to do now, because I'm sharing this invite link for my students, I can just click, I'm going to make an announcement for that. And what that will do is it will send a message to my students. Now, you'll see this link being generated just here. You've got an option to add some custom text if you want, something like, click the link to join the class, something like that. And if you want to, you can choose to set it just for some students, so you can deselect or select students down the side here. And there's also the option to either post straight away, or if you use this downwards arrow, you'll see that you have an option just to post. You can schedule it for later, and then you can also save as a draft if you want. So there's the options there. But if I just post it for now, what you'll see is you'll get an option to view the post. And if you click view, it will open up Google Classroom, and you'll see exactly what your students will see. So it's important to share when, it's important to share with you that basically what you see on Google Classroom will be the same as what your students see. So this has gone into what's called the stream, which will be something that's available to students as well. And it's basically a bit like the message board of your classroom. So you've got this link I've just shared now at 1613. And you've got an option to add a comment. You can share something else by clicking in this box up here. You can also add attachments and things like that. But your students can also share things with you as well through the stream. So it's basically like the message board. You can go back and forth with your students. So let me show you the same process on Microsoft Teams. So again, don't forget, I'm still just inviting my class here. If I go onto Microsoft Teams this time, I can then click on Teams. And the process is fairly similar. It will just go into slightly different details specific to how Teams works. So the first thing you need to know about Teams is organized into channels and teams. So you need to find the correct channel to post it in. So say, for example, I've got a Year 10 maths group, I think, set up here. And that's where I want to share it to. And then again, I can put a custom message in here. Whatever it is you want. And that link's been automatically generated for you. When you're ready, you click share down the bottom. And it gives you that confirmation that the link's been shared. So if I go then into Microsoft Teams, I can basically see what that looks like from that perspective. So this is just this Year 10 maths group that I've got. And you can see that 1615, that post I've just put up there has popped up. And again, this is like, the message board that you would have with your students. You can reply here, students can reply to you, and yeah, a place to keep everything together. So that's inviting students. You then probably are thinking, okay, so I've invited my students, how can I actually let them know that something's happening in Seneca? So I'll just move over to a class that actually has some students in it. So you can see what that looks like. So when you go to create, you've got the assignments here, just a number of how many assignments you've set. When you go to add another assignment after your first one, again, this is just select the sections like I did before that I want to set for my students. When I then assign this, I then get an option to this time choose the students I want to set it for. I can deselect or select these, whatever I want. And when I'm ready, I again give it a name, start and an end date. And this time when I click create, it will give me the option to share it on Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams. So just like I did before, I can go to either of these and decide what I want to do. Again, let me show you the process on Google Classroom first, and then I'll show you Microsoft Teams. So you'll recognize this from exactly the same as last time. I choose my class, I then choose my action. The difference is now I'm probably going to create an assignment because that makes sense. It's an assignment in Seneca to make an assignment in Google Classroom, and then I click go. Again, I'll see the title and some instructions. And the links there being automatically generated, as you can see. Now you've got a few more options down the side here. Again, you can select just some students or for all students. You can assign, if you're using the mark book in Google Classroom, you can assign it a number of points that you want to use it for. You can also set a due date, if that's useful. And then finally, you've got this topic section down here. I won't select any topic for the moment because I'll show you what that looks like in a second on Google Classroom. Again, the down arrow gives you that option to schedule it for later or save it as a draft. You can just go straight in and assign it with your students. Again, you'll get the option just to view that post. And there you go, you'll see it's gone into that stream, that message board that we talked about. This new assignment has been created by me. But this, as an assignment, will also pop into the classwork section. Now, again, remember, whatever you see on Google Classroom is exactly the same as what your students see. So in terms of the layout of it, so this assignment I've just created, you'll see that it's just popped up at the top here. And that's because I didn't select any topic for it to go under. If I had selected a topic, it would have just popped under one of these topics below. But what I can do is, if I want to reassign it to a topic, I just drag it and drop it. Say I'm just topic 2, I'll just drop it there. And you'll see it's popped down there. So it's a really nice way to organize your Google Classroom area, but also help your students to organize it as well, because it will appear for them in the same way. Now, when I click, if I want to make a topic, I just click create and then topic, and you can then customize that however you like. So again, let me show you the same process on Microsoft Teams this time. So again, I've created that assignment. It's just popped up with this box. This time I'm going to click Microsoft Teams. And again, I choose the team or the channel. So I'm going to go for that same Year 10 Maths group. And again, a message. And the link's there already, just as before. And then I click share and I get that confirmation that the link's been shared. So then when I go into Microsoft Teams, you'll see, oh, there it is, 1620, that message just popped up. And if the student was to click on this link or click on the link for the invitation to class, then it would just take them through to the relevant Seneca bit. So as an example, I'll just show you that actually. So if I was to click on this link in Classroom or Teams to invite for the invitation to the class, it would just take me through to Seneca. If I wasn't already logged in to my account, it would ask me to log in, but I've already logged in, so that's not a problem. Just give it a second to load. And there you go, you just joined class name, which is the name I gave the class earlier, and it gives the student some information. And when the student clicks continue, they'll get taken through, remember the 6 courses I added right at the beginning, they're there and available. And then you've got that assignment that I created as well for the students. So you've then shared an assignment with some students. You then want to probably be able to see how well your students are doing. As I said, all the marking is automatic, and you are able to track students' progress through Seneca. So if you go into the assignments, you've got some assignments here. I can view past assignments, for example. So say this one as an example. What you can see at the top here is I've got an assignment name and what it relates to and the sections I set. You can see the average score across the class. And then you can see some data on who's completed it, who completed it late, and who it was incomplete for. But then if I scroll down, you can see it just broken down by student. So again, you have the names, status gives you just whether it was late, on time, or incomplete. And then you have the names of the sessions along here that you can see, and you can see the data nicely presented, nicely red, amber, green, so you can understand what your students do and don't understand. You can also change the metric at the top here. So I've got best score selected at the moment, but if I changed it to, for example, most recent attempt, I click on that, and it would just change the data accordingly, depending on what was appropriate for that selection you made. So you can choose from most recent attempt, best score, worst score, average score, number of attempts, and total study time, the options you have. What you can also do is sort by any of these columns. So at the moment I'm sorted worst to best on this topic, but if I just click it again, it will go best to worst. So you can see who's done really well, who's not done so well. And again, then you can think about putting your intervention in place where necessary. Now, when you then have an assignment, you're probably again thinking, okay, well, I then need to do something about this data. Haley's only got 1% on this. This is an issue. What we allow you to do, or what we provide you the option to do if you want, is to automatically support these students better by with just a few clicks, basically. So if I go to the top here, what you can do is use our smart reassign feature. So if you click on this, what it will allow you to do is automatically set this work again for students. And don't forget, when you're setting the work again, it's not just going to be the same content that they see. The system will learn and remember what the student knows, and it will adapt the session accordingly. So if Haley's going to be getting 1%, she'll be given more support the next time she does it. So you can reassign this work. Say, for example, you want to reassign it for anyone who didn't complete it, and anyone who got less than 50% as their best score. You can select those two, and then click reassign, and it will just select the data, the students and the sections that are appropriate for what you've selected. So if I just give it a name, again, I choose a start and an end date, just like I did when I was doing a normal assignment. And away I go. I can then, again, if I want to, share it in Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams. I've already shown you that. So yeah, you don't need to know how, I won't show you how to do that again. So once you've done that, the data will then show up here. You can see it, okay, so only 4 students actually met the criteria that I selected. So it will automatically be reset for those 4 students, just the sections I want. So for example, Felton's only got vowel suffixes to do. Desi's only got not and inter, etc. Now that's all very well. That's what happens if you set an assignment and a student completes work. You're probably thinking, okay, what if I want to see work that my students have done outside of the work that I've set them? And of course, you can see that data in the same way. So you can use the Insights tab to do that. So if you click there, what you can do is first of all select the course that you have that you want to see data for, sorry. Choose the metric from the same set of metrics that I talked about earlier. You then have a start and a date range that you want to see data from. So for example, you can see last 30 days, last 7 days, last year. And you can also set a custom date range if you want. So say you just wanted to see data from the 1st of September, you just select 1st of September here. Now I then select the sections I want to see data for. So a bit like when I was selecting the sections for the sections I wanted to set for my students when I was doing the assignment setting. Again, I can select whatever I want to see data for, click select sections. And then if you just give it a moment, it will bring up that data for you so you can see what your students have been up to, how well they've been doing. Again, you can sort by any of these columns, just like before. If you just click on the header of the column, and you can see how well your students have done. Now, I should have mentioned this actually on assignments, but I forgot. But anywhere there is data on Seneca, you can export it to CSV. So whatever is on the screen at that time will be downloaded and put into a spreadsheet for you. So if you want to use that for any reason, you can do that. If you just click that export this CSV button here, it will download that spreadsheet for you. Now, the final place to see data on Seneca is this Students tab. And this is sort of the highest level overview of what your students have been up to. So you can know stats like total learning time, how much the average score is overall, what are the number of sessions they've completed, and how many correct answers they've got. So all of this data allows you to basically get a real overview of what your students have been up to, and including there's a class average up here as well, which is quite handy. So that is basically that from the Seneca perspective and how Seneca links up with Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom. I haven't shown you what any of the sessions look like for the purposes of this session, but if you want to see that yourself, what you can do is just log into your account, and at the top here you've got this student platform, which you can just click that and it will take you through to you so you can try out some courses if that's useful. So the last thing I want to share to you is a really nice feature that I think is really handy in just tying all this together. Unfortunately, it's only an option in Microsoft Teams and not Google Classroom. But what you can actually do is within Microsoft Teams, you can have these custom tabs. So if I just show you what that looks like, you can click on this Seneca tab and it will load up basically a Seneca page within your Teams browser. So it makes it really easy for you to sort of keep everything in one place. You don't have to worry about logins and stuff like that. And students can also have this as well, so they can have their own Seneca area where they're logged into their accounts. And if you want to set that up, it's really straightforward. You just click this plus at the top here. And that actually is a really good feature because it allows you to add lots of different things into those extra tabs, everything from your Microsoft products like your Word and your Excel, but it also allows you to do third-party products in there. If any of these are useful to you, there might be some things that are handy. But one thing you, as I say, you can do is, as I say, use it for Seneca. So if you click on website, it will give you an option to add a website straight into your browser. So if I call this Seneca 1, just because I've already got Seneca up there. And if you paste the URL from the beginning of our, or the URL you want to open basically, so you can just select app.senecalearning.com. Make sure you include this HTTPS at the front. And if you click save, or first of all, you can choose to post in the channel about it if you want. I'll deselect it for the moment. But if you click save, it will then, if you give it a second, make that new tab. And as simple as that, it's made a brand new Seneca page that you can use. So as I say, again, that's potentially really handy for just tying this all together and making sure it's all available in one place. As I say, unfortunately, not an option in Google Classroom, but that's the way it is, I'm afraid. The last thing to say, if there's any questions that have come up about any of that or anything I've talked about, now's the time to start thinking about typing them into the chat, and I'll come back to them in a second. But I'll just show you one more thing before I go on. So within Seneca, we, as I say, provide a student account, a teacher account, but we also provide an opportunity for a parent account as well. So what you can do, and actually, as I'm sure you're aware, that a lot of the research shows that parental involvement in students' schoolwork is a real potential differentiator in terms of increasing outcomes for students. So what you can do, or parents can do, is they can again set up a free account themselves and basically link to the students. So say, for example, they want to see data, they can see some data that's similar to what you see in the student tab on your accounts as teachers. You can see just some basic stats on what the child's been up to during that period. And again, that's really useful for parents in terms of early identification of potential issues with with their kids. And again, they can select the date range, do whatever, customize the data that's right for them, and that will pop up there. So as I say, that's completely free to use and available, ready to use. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and if you have any questions, please do start to get them in the chat, and I'll just come back and see if there are any questions from anyone. Okay, so first question from Gaydelia. I hope I've said your name right, apologies if I haven't. Will there be a recording of this training? If yes, how will it be accessed? So yes, there will be a recording of the training, and it will be available on the Seneca CPD YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and type in Seneca CPD, you'll get a link to, or you'll see this this exact recording. Actually, it's being live streamed on YouTube, so you'll see this exact this exact recording. And then you can, if you want to watch it again, if I think it went too fast or you didn't quite get something, then feel free to do that. And obviously, if you want to share it with your colleagues, you can just share the link with them so they can access the recording as well. Okay, are there any other questions on anything I've talked about, or anything more generally about Seneca that you'd like to pick my brains on while I'm here? Okay, so when will the recording be available from Sabrina? It's available right now, so you could go on there and watch it right now if you wanted to. Okay, that looks like that might be all the questions. If you have any last questions, do get them in now. But if you don't, otherwise, I'll just say have a great rest of your Friday afternoon. I hope you're close to finishing and you can go home and have a nice restful weekend. But if not, I'm sure it will come soon. But yeah, have a great weekend and yeah, enjoy. If you've got any questions, by the way, about anything when you're getting set up, you can just contact the customer support team. On your teacher account, there'll be a little icon that will allow you to do a live chat with one of our team, and they'll be able to support you with anything you need some help with. Oh, last question from Paula, just popped in just before we're finishing. So, can I see my students' progress that they have done before they join the class? So yes, you can, Paula. What you can do is, if you go into the Insights tab that I talked about, you'll be able to see data from whenever the student started with their account. So yeah, just depending on the date range you set on the Insights tab. Okay. Right, well, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. And yeah, if you want to share the link with your colleagues, head over to YouTube. Seneca CPD is what you need to search for. Thanks very much, guys.